Welcome to the Honest Business Podcast. This is the show for ambitious, value-driven business owners who are actively building a business that works for them. Hi, I'm May James, and I'm here to make scaling your business easier and more rewarding than ever. Each week, we will dive into simple, sustainable strategy and pragmatic leadership discussion to support you as you take imperfect action on your entrepreneurial journey. If you want to stay ahead, exceed your growth goals, and have a purposeful, thriving business, then keep on listening. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are well. Today I'm really excited for this episode because we're going to dig into high ticket sales, which is something that I am so passionate about. I love it. I get so just like on a tangent about. So we're going to rein it in today. I'm going to try and stick to a short and sweet episode for you that hopefully will really help you develop your thoughts around high ticket sales, give you some takeaways, but also I think more so reposition where you see it in your head. That's kind of my aim for today's episode. I want to just dive straight in. What do I class as high ticket sales? That's something that I want to really kind of clear first, because everyone has a different definition of high ticket sales, and so I just want to share with you mine because it might be different to yours, and that's fine. There's no kind of right or wrong. Different sales experts have different ideas, different people have different thoughts on what they choose to class as high ticket sales, but this is my definition and what I run by. So, and even mine changes as time goes on, but right now we're going with this. So for me, low ticket is between, 0 to say like a 997 offer. That for me is a low ticket offer. Mid ticket for me is from the £1,000 mark up until the like 4,999 offer, so like £5,000 basically. And then high ticket for me is £5,000 plus pounds. Now I'm talking about this in pounds. Whatever your currency is, you can convert that for wherever you are, but that's kind of where I see myself and how I kind of talk about high ticket sales. There is reasoning behind that. I'm not going to take up time today to go into why, but for me personally, I believe that depending on what range the prices, the sales process does differ very slightly. And when I say very slightly, I mean very slightly. Like there's no huge shift. It's just different people need to hear different things at different points. But that's more so based on where they are in their business journey, less so how much the product actually is, which we're going to go into. Now, just to add some context to this, I thought it would be interesting to ask some other people what they thought, what they class as high ticket sales, because I think this is a really interesting area that people kind of often disagree on. So I went to LinkedIn, over to my network on there. So thank you very much for listening, and you voted in this poll. And we got 67 votes. And the question was, what do you class as high ticket sales in your business? And really interestingly, and what really warmed my heart actually, was that 76% believed that it was 5k or more. Now, that's really great because I think this has changed a lot in the last few years, and a while ago it was such a low amount, but now people are really shifting. So 76% believed it was 5k or more, 24% believed that it had to be over £1,000, and if it was over £1,000, then therefore it meant high ticket sales for them in their business. And then interestingly, this was the bit that really made me quite happy, was 43% thought that it was over 10k. So I know I mentioned before that I feel like 5k is where I kind of sit at. Depending on the industry and things, it shifts. It was really, really great to see that 43% of those people that voted on LinkedIn chose the 10k or more option, which is a really promising piece of data in my opinion. And I think it's important to remember here, obviously the question was in your business, and I think that's a key word in here to remember, because everyone's business is obviously different. If you are selling your cheapest product at 140 grand is your cheapest package, then obviously it's going to be different for everyone. But I think that was a real nice insight into different people's opinion, and I'd love to know yours, so feel free to message me on Instagram if you have a different opinion. So in case you don't know me, and this is like the first episode you're listening to and the first time you've come across me, just for some context, I love sales. I really enjoy sales. I love them of all different levels. I particularly love high ticket sales. And I have sold everything from a £4.50 soap all the way up to multiple 5-figure contract packages, whatever you want to call it. Haven't sold a house yet, so Haven't got that one ticked off, but yeah, I sell a variety of things. And currently in the businesses across the board, we sell things from, again, about £5 all the way up to about, at the moment, about 35,000 is, I think, one of the most expensive packages we have. Depending if people want something bespoke consultant-wise, then we can, if it doesn't fit that budget, we can go higher. But realistically, it's around that. And so we have kind of a big breadth of different sales experience and knowledge. So let's just go through things you need to know about high ticket sales. So one thing I want to say is this stuff takes practice, and people are like the first people not to get on board with this. You can't just go straight out the gate and think you're going to be unreal and amazing at high ticket sales. You might be. Some of you will be naturally quite good at sales, and that was something that I realised I was, and I didn't intend to when I was how old was I? 16, I think, and I got my first sales job, and yeah, that was an experience. It was the best thing ever. It made me realise that I could sell, and from that day on I didn't realise what a gift it was. I realised wow, this is a skill, this is a powerful thing, you can do so much with it, and it really changed the whole trajectory of my life of realising that I could sell. But if you are not naturally kind of apt in that area, it's definitely something you can learn. I truly believe this. I believe everyone can be good at sales. I think it's just some people are more naturally kind of given to it than others, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. So get that out of your head that you're not good at sales, because that's the thing that we need to take out. Particularly with high ticket sales, it takes practice. It takes, you talking and practicing and knowing what you're going to say to people. I think it's a big thing. Often people are like, I don't know what I'd even say. And so when you don't know what you're going to say, that's when it kind of gets a bit all over the place because you're not sure. So I'd love for you to really get out of your head and I'd invite you to have a mindset shift around what does it mean, and actually say, no, I'm going to put the work in to practice to be better at high ticket sales. The other thing that goes with this is taking time to dedicate to learning. So I'm a big advocate of teaching people how to sell, and teaching people how to sell across the board of different price points. And we do that in Mary James. That is the name of one of the businesses. And that really inspires me. I love it. I love teaching women particularly how to sell, and whether that's they're going to sell something for £7 or whether they're going to sell something for 70 grand, that really lights me up. But taking the time to learn is really key, and consistently learn. It's not like you learn it once and that's it. I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly up-leveling my sales skills, I'm constantly developing further, because it means it's really important, okay? It's like going to the gym and building your muscles or whatever. If you just stop doing it, you've got to use it, otherwise you lose it. So I really think with sales, you kind of have to keep exercising it and keep, bringing it out, because that will what's going to make you better at sales. The other thing I think is really important is I want to just go from a psychological perspective for a moment and do a bit of a deep dive that way. Now, I'm going to keep this really simple. I just want you to think about, when you're thinking about high ticket sales, remember that the limbic part of your brain really comes into play here when you're selling high ticket. So the limbic part of the brain is the bit that gives you the gut feeling. It's the thing that's responsible for triggering emotion and matching emotion to events. It's the thing that is really stems motivation from. And so the limbic brain, when we talk about high ticket sales, really comes into its own because people are buying from a gut feeling, often, a lot of the time. If you're going to make a big investment in something, you go with your gut feeling. If you've got 3 people and the price is still the same, the person you go with is the person that you gut saying, yeah, go with them. So we need to think about this really clearly. It doesn't necessarily come from a thing that makes the most sense. And when people, because if it makes the most sense, that's coming from the frontal cortex of the brain. And so what I want to remind you here is that when you're selling high ticket, not everything has to make logical sense. And a lot of people sell high ticket and they wonder why they don't make a sale. And it's often because they're not visibly excited about what it is they're doing. And they feel like everything has to be so thought out because the price is high. And this is something I want to detract from. So especially when you start selling, yes, I'm saying £5,000 is high ticket, but for me, the true high ticket and the fun high ticket can come from the 15,000, the 20,000, that sort of realm. And when that comes into play, people are not buying off value or, logical decision making. Yes, that comes into it. You've got to be solving a problem, but it really comes from this excitement, the emotion that's involved with it, why they want to buy something, and the gut feeling. So let's just think about a real world example for a moment of a Birkin, an Hermes Birkin handbag. I don't know, let's say it's 10 grand. I mean, what logical decision making is there involved in that? There's very little. I mean, yes, you can argue, it's an investment, and so the problem solving side of it would be that you're going to buy it because it's going to invest and it's going to make sense. But realistically, most people want and buy an Hermes Birkin because their limbic brain is like, I want that. I'm interested, I want it, it's fun, it's really exciting, and that's why they buy it, okay? Yes, it's a status symbol, yes, it's, buying into popular culture, but it's also around, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't need to make sense, no one cares. People are buying Birkins for 30,000, 100,000, like, people are buying Birkins as if it's, like, going out of fashion. It doesn't need to be a reason all the time for why people buy, in the sense of where you're creating offers and trying to make it work. And I'm just saying this and mentioning this because I think it's really important for us to pull ourselves out of this idea that everything has to make sense. So the frontal cortex of the brain is responsible for making logical decisions. It's based around, facts and problem solving, and it's looking at how does something solve a problem. And obviously that does come into high ticket sales because what you're selling has to solve a problem for someone. So if it doesn't solve a problem, then inevitably someone's going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy it. Why am I going to spend £20,000 on a consultant package if there's no reason for me to do it? So that does happen. But what's really important is the limbic brain, and people forget about the limbic brain and they get so obsessed with, everything that's going on otherwise in the brain. But remembering that emotions with high ticket is really important, and gut feeling. The gut feeling thing is what really kind of cements the decision in people's head that they're going to buy with you when they're going to spend X amount of money. So that's all I'm going to say on kind of sales psychology. Not that it's even sales psychology, just how your brain works, but sales psychology can be a whole other episode if we want it to be. But that was just something I wanted to really kind of bring to you to get you thinking about as we move through this episode. Now, the next thing I want you to remember when you are selling high ticket is for you to think about the intelligence of the buyer and where the buyer is at. So many people fail to recognize how intelligent consumers are becoming and are already. So, as we're filming this, it's February 2022. You might be listening to this in, 2 years' time, 4 years' time, and we're going to be even further advanced than we are today. But right now, consumers are more intelligent than ever. There's more choice than ever. There's more information than ever. We have everything we could need in our fingertips. So if your solution was just about providing information or just about giving somebody something, that wouldn't be enough. And this is something that I think is really important for people to remember. People are not buying information. They're buying you. They're buying your experience, your lived experience, your kind of education. They're buying what you know. And they're also buying your presence and what they can learn from you. So really start being clever in how you approach high ticket sales. Because, just assuming that people are stupid is not going to work. And I'm not saying you do think that. I'm just saying that some of the actions and some of the strategies you use to sell are not geared towards an intelligent consumer. So for example, my business is full of very intelligent customers. They are doing really well, it might be you listening to this, you're really good, your business is thriving, you're doing really well. My customers are buying from me, and they're buying high ticket because they want the best of the best. They want someone who's really shit hot at what they do, and that's me. So, I'm not going to sell to them in a way that's downplaying their expertise or their intelligence. No, I sell from a place of amplifying what they already have and amplifying where they're at already, because that's what I do. I only work with women who are real go-getters and who are determined to make it work. I'm not here to, help anyone who isn't going to put the work in. So don't kind of lose the intelligence of the consumer in high ticket sales, because it can very easily become this, you're patronizing them. And if you're patronizing people, that it doesn't really work. It's not going to end well. So that would be something that I really encourage you to think about when you're looking at high ticket sales. The other thing to think about is the mindset of selling high ticket. So when you're selling high ticket, it is a mindset. Now, it's not a mindset that I just switch on. So it's not like I'm okay, today I'm going to sell a £15,000 package and, that's just going to mean I'm going to switch on the high ticket sales mindset. That's not how it works, right? This breathes into all of you, and all of you as an entrepreneur, and it, is visceral, and it goes through your body. So for me, it's like I could sell high ticket pretty straight away. I could just be like, woohoo, like, let's go. Someone comes to me and sees me in the street and we talk and we know that I could help them, then I'm going to tell them there and then how I can help them, how much it is, here we go, let's go, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's really important. But what I'm going to suggest to you is to think about, if high ticket sales either worries you or you don't like it or you've never done it before, is to think about how do you chill? Like, how do you just chill out, breathe, and just think, okay, like, I'm just going to chill out. Because high ticket sales is a conversation. Sales is always a conversation. But especially with high ticket, it's more of a conversation because you're literally just meeting someone where they're at and taking them to where they want to go. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And so the more you can breathe and relax and just sit in what it is you're doing, the more successful you're going to be. Of course, there's things you need to do. But I think this idea of the mindset thing needs to be clear. It needs to be simple, it needs to be authentic, and it needs to actually help someone. You need to be excited about whatever you're selling before the person's ever going to be. If you are not excited by it, it's never going to sell. I don't care how much it is, but especially if it's a lot of money. I have sat on a sales call with someone before. I'm the person who's been sold to, right? And the person selling it has just not been interested. Like, they're just like not that bothered. They're just like, okay, like whatever. And it's just this like, they're like, oh, come and buy it. And it's not, there's no excitement there. There's no kind of like pizzazz. There's no interest, right? So I'm not going to spend the money because I'm like, well, I'm not really bothered. Like, you're not bothered, so why should I be bothered? But if you are relaxed, still be chilled, breathe. But then you're also excited and feel passionate about what it is that you do. That feeds through to people. That gives people a reason to want to buy from you. And a lot of people buy from me because of my energy and because of the way I talk and how, how passionate I am. That can be enough for someone to buy from you. And I think this is where the shift has to happen. It's not about how much can I pack into an offer, how much value can I give, how much more can I add? And it's more so, how can I just breathe? Like, how can I just breathe and know what my expertise is, sit in my expertise, run with it, feel confident in it, know that what I'm going to say to someone is going to help them. That's where you need to come at it. From this mindset of, I'm sure of myself, I'm sure of the offer, I'm sure of what we can do for as a business for this customer. That is what people want. They want certainty. They want confidence. They want you to be able to guide them to their next level. But that's only going to come from you being in a calm place to be able to effectively communicate that. Because if you don't effectively communicate, that's when it gets very weird. And you can sit on the other end of it and feel like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, it doesn't feel good, okay? So that was the next thing. The other thing to lead on to that is understanding your customer's needs. Now, this gets really misunderstood a lot. So fully understanding what your customer wants / needs is really key. Because if you get this wrong, the whole thing can be an absolute shit show. If you get it right, it can be seamless. So, I've had people buy stuff from me before, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Someone bought something $9,000, I think, off after meeting me for like an hour, and they just bought it there and then and was like, yeah, you're the person for me, I need you. And, it was really simple. But you know why it was really simple? It was really simple because I understood the person. Now, this didn't even come from me talking to them directly. This was through a podcast. So through a podcast, someone felt like they fully understood where they were at. They felt like I fully understood where they were at. Not even that I was directly talking to them. And they were like, yeah, that's me. You get me. I want to work with you. And that can all happen very fast. So you can do high tickets very fast. Like a lot of my high ticket comes fast, and I love selling high ticket for that reason. I personally say to people that selling high ticket is way easier than low ticket. Now I know for everyone that's not the case, but if you learn the skills of sales and you learn how to sell, then high ticket becomes really easy, and it's high reward as well. So I love high ticket, and I think the part of understanding your customer really is key to guide you through the process of them saying, hell yes, I want to do this. Because the other thing I really think is important is I don't, with high ticket sales, like I don't want anyone who's not a hell yes. If they're not a hell yes, then I don't want to do it. Because why should I? Because a lot of the time, high ticket sales often means an energy output from me, and quite a high energy output. And so if the person's not like fully into it and not really there, I don't want to push them into it. I don't want them to force them into it, because like that's not going to work. I want people who are like, yes, I want to do this. I can't wait. Don't care how much it is. Here we go. Sign the paper. And when I say don't care how much it is, I'm not dismissing the fact that cost is a thing and price is a thing, but I just mean that depending on the customer, if you understand your customer properly and you understand what they need, they won't look at the price as a thing. It's like if I have a problem in business, I'm only interested in the solution. Half the time I don't really care how much it costs, as long as you're going to fix my problem. And I know for some of you that might be hard to get your head around, and others of you are going to be sat there thinking, yeah, I'm the same. So really get clear on what does your customer want? What do they need? How do they buy? What's their past history been? Like, get to know them, ask them questions, find out what is truly the problem. Because remember, when you're selling high ticket, often you are not selling them what they think they need. So this is the other thing to get your head around of like, do they actually need what they think they need, or do they need something else? Often it's the something else part, but they don't want to know that, or they might not want to admit to that. So you've got to be really, like, you've got to use your emotional intelligence. And with high ticket sales, emotional intelligence is really high on the list. If you have got good emotional intelligence skills and a good breadth of skill set in that area, you will do well at high ticket sales. If you don't, and you struggle to understand the world around you and the people, and, you know, understand true emotional regulation, then you will kind of struggle with the higher ticket sales, in my opinion, because you struggle to pull what you need from different people at different times. The next thing I want to go into is not guessing or making assumptions. So when you look at high ticket sales, often we make assumptions all the time. So you make assumptions about what they can afford, you make assumptions about whether they're going to buy, you make assumptions about whether or not it's right for them, blah, 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 okay? We've got to try and stop. And I know it's hard, because inevitably as human beings, we make assumptions and we put people into boxes in order for us to process things easier. It's a natural human response, so don't beat yourself up about it. However, we have to stop making decisions before someone's even made a decision, and we have to stop writing people off before they've made a decision. So a good example of this is, think about people who buy certain things that you'd never think would have the money. So certain people might look a certain way, and I'm using air quotes here, a certain way, and, you know, you might think they don't have any money. Well, that's absolute rubbish, right? Because some people can be millionaires, they could be, you know, whoever, and they might look, air quotes, a certain way. So we've got to stop making assumptions, lenient stereotypes, guessing how people are going to afford something, because it's not our business ultimately, and it's not for us to dictate to them what they can and can't afford. And this is, you know, I struggled with this for a long time, because I felt a real personal responsibility for accessibility and making sure everything was, you know, everyone could afford everything, and how do we make sure that we're not singling people out, and how so-and-so is supposed to afford X. But I realised, like, that's an issue, and we park that to the side and we deal with that, and there's various things we do in business to help alleviate some of those things I talked about, RE accessibility. But apart from that, like, putting that aside, it's not our responsibility. Like, it's not, you don't have to be working out how they're going to afford something, because they'll either afford it or they don't. And it's, you have to just, you're a business. You're not like the therapist. You're not helping them financially plan. You are a business. And so being really clear of, where are you making assumptions that people can't afford something, and therefore pricing differently? And this is the key thing. It's not about selling something to someone who can't afford it. It's about, where are you changing your prices to meet your comfortability in yourself? Because this whole high ticket thing revolves around trust. And when I'm saying stop guessing and stop making assumptions, that also means you have to learn to trust yourself more and learn to sit in this idea that you can sell high ticket and that you are amazing at selling high ticket and you are so expansive and so cool and so like people want to buy high ticket from you. But that's only going to come if you trust yourself and if you stop making assumptions. Because, you know, if I made assumptions, some of the people who've bought from me, I wouldn't have assumed could have. And who am I to make that assumption? It's rude. It's not okay, you know? But as society, we've kind of shoeboxed people into different places that they shouldn't be shoehorned into. So I really encourage you to not guess or make assumptions or try and work out how someone's gonna afford something. The next thing I want to talk about is being open and flexible. So when it comes to high ticket sales, we've got to be open and flexible and agile. And what I mean by that is when people are spending a large sum of money with us, often they might want something that we haven't necessarily got. Now, here's the thing. If you're selling £5,000 or something, then the flexibility is not really there, in my opinion. So in my business, if someone's buying something for me, well, let's just say, if you want to work with me for 6 months as like a female entrepreneur, private coach and consultant arrangement, that's a £12,000 investment, okay? That £12,000 investment, there's no flexibility there to start like adding things, taking it away, moulding it to this, that and the other and whatever. Like whatever the deliverables are for that is the deliverables and that's the price. Once people move further into the consultant area with me in terms of they are spending, you know, it's a project maybe and they're looking at adding a CEO strategy day and they want to have some this and they want a team training and they want this and they want that and they want the other. That's when there's more flexibility and openness to maneuver things. But that means that they're going to be spending upwards of what, I don't know, 16,000, 18,000, 20,000, 30,000. And that's where the flexibility for me can come more into it. Now, I'm not saying you have to use the same parameters and same pricing for that, but I'm just trying to display to you this idea that just because it's high ticket, it doesn't mean that you have to flex and move things around. You don't. If someone wants to come and work with me, they come and work with me because of this container and I direct them into the best container that's for them. But inevitably, if they want something that's extremely bespoke to the point where they want certain things and they don't want this and they do want this and blah, 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 they pay a cost for that. And so, yes, you can be open and flexible and I'm telling you to do so. I'm also saying be clear with your boundaries and be really open with the idea that just because they're paying a lot of money doesn't mean that they know best and doesn't mean that you are the one who has to, you know, bend over backwards to them. That's not the case. I actually find that the more people pay, the more respectful they are of your time and the more open they are to you being the expert and telling them what they need. So people will come to me and say, you know, I don't think, let's just use the 6-month package as an example, the 12k one. You know, people will say, I'm not sure that this is the one for me. Like, I think I need this and I think I need that and, you know, whatever. And I'll say, okay, let's have a conversation and, you know, help them to try and, the worst thing I want to do is for someone to buy something and it'll be right for them, okay? So I always want to make sure that it's right for them. So, you know, they go through this and we find that out. And it might, and I'd say to them, okay, yeah, I think the 6-month one is perfect for you. And, you know, tell me that, I'll tell them my reasoning and kind of walk them through that process and what it looks like and results and, you know, etc., etc. And once we get there, the person's then like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I can clearly then articulate to them and communicate with them why the thing that they thought might be is not for them or might not be the best thing for them. But if you just bent over backwards the first time and was like, yeah, of course, that's fine, like, and coming up with all these new packages, inevitably they might not have got the end result that they wanted because the thing you had in the first place was there for a reason. And that's what I look at. Things in my business are designed with purpose and with reasoning. So for instance, the 6-month program, that I was talking about, that is there for a real reason because I know it works and it's positioned in a way that I know that the format is there for a reason and a journey for people to go on with a clear success path. So when I do that, I know full well that it's going to work. If they match who I'm looking for, then I can clearly say that to them. And so being open and flexible is a kind of two double-edged sword, and something that I want you to lean into, but also not get down this rabbit hole of just because they're paying a lot of money means that you have to bend over backwards, because that's not necessarily what I'm saying. However, that leads me on to my next point, and this is a big one, so stay tuned. This is a huge thing, and something that you really need to know. Right, breathe. Okay, when you are selling high ticket, you must understand that high ticket comes with high delivery. And when I mean high delivery, I don't mean high volume, I don't mean high frequency, I just mean your delivery has to be really, really good. So many people might sell high ticket, but they ain't any good at delivering high ticket. And you have to be really good at your delivery. So your delivery needs to be really, really a quality service, if that is what you are selling to people. So don't sell high ticket if you can't deliver high ticket. And that's not a bad thing. It's not to make you feel bad or to kind of dumb down what you do in any way. I'm just saying that this is a journey you go on. And delivering a high ticket service comes with certain parameters. And so I'd really suggest you look at, is what I'm selling right now high ticket worthy? Is the delivery matching what I am financially requiring of people to give to me? So for example, I know that what we do is, and I can be so confident and, shout it off a rooftop, and I know that some of the time it's actually way above what we charge, but I charge it because I try and balance, accessibility and match the type of businesses we're working with, and etc. That's a whole other conversation around pricing. But I feel so strongly in my bones that I know that what we deliver is of really high value, really, really strong high value. And so therefore, that for me doesn't faze me. But for some of you, you'll be worried about high ticket sales and you'll not be making high ticket sales because you can't do the delivery bit. You don't know how to, or you haven't sussed that out yet. You haven't worked out how to energetically meet yourself there. Maybe you don't feel like you're there. And if you don't feel like you're there, that's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. Just be really honest with yourself and say, I don't think I am there yet, but you can develop your way to being there. And remembering that these people who are teaching high ticket, especially if they're teaching you, sell $100,000 package or something, more than say 30 grand, they've all been on a journey. They didn't start one day and just sell $100,000 package. Everybody's been through a process and a journey and a learning experience. So really allow yourself to breathe and to think, do you know what? Like, this is a journey that I'm going to take step by step to get there. And that's okay. And it's okay for you to maybe, if you've listened to this episode and feel like, do you know what? I don't even know if high ticket is for me right now. And that's totally fine. You can still build a wildly successful business, from a low ticket offer. You can build a 7-figure business off a £7 product if you want to. Like, there's no rule book in this. There's no thing to say that go and sell high ticket because that makes business easy. Everything has its pros and cons. And high ticket sales is just a part of a business model that some people choose to operate out of. But be really clear that if you are going to sell high ticket, the experience, the delivery, the feel good factor, the feedback you get needs to be of a high delivery. Now I've mentioned this, that's really important, and it's something I really wanted to share with you. I'm also aware that many of you listen to this will be people who downplay your expertise, will be people who undercharge, will be people who just knock off what you do and just think, oh, it's all right, it's great, it's not that good, I'm just some small person who sits in their bedroom and this, that and the other. And I just want to say, no, do not let what I've just said to you in that last kind of section put you off selling high ticket, because many of you are phenomenal at what you do, you undercharge and you don't realise how good you are, okay? So really, really think about what is the quality of the piece of work that you deliver. And it's okay if you don't know the answer yet. A nice way to start might be that you put your prices up from where they are now and you find a point that you feel comfortable at and then develop. The other thing I'd really encourage you to do is, if you're unsure about what it is you offer and whether or not it is a high ticket thing, then consult someone who helps and knows what they're kind of talking about in this arena and helps you pull from that and make sense of, is what you're offering a high ticket offer or is it not? because neither's bad. It's just you've got to be clear, because if you're not clear, you can't sell it. And this is where I see a lot of people struggle of like, they don't really get if what they're selling is a high ticket offer. And so then they're trying to sell using a high ticket system, but then they're not actually selling a high ticket offer. So I'd really encourage you to just go back and look at what you offer and what you sell and see where the high ticket makes sense and where it doesn't, and who it serves and who it doesn't. So let's breathe. I hope this episode has been useful. I hope you have felt like you have been on a bit of a journey with me and you have kind of dived into some deeper topics. As always, I know I say this every episode, but we could go way further into this. So if anyone liked this episode, let me know and we can go dig further into high ticket sales, and we could have high ticket sales number 2. But yeah, those are kind of key things that I think about when we talk about high ticket and what it means. And I just really would like to encourage you to go and sell today. Please go and sell what it is you do. Go and talk to people about what you do. Do not hide away, and don't wait for someone to come and ask you, because inevitably people aren't. So just come and say, hey, this is what I do. Like, go and tell the world, get on social, like, sell your stuff. And this is the other thing. If you are selling high ticket, you do not have to do it behind the scenes. You can go and sell high ticket on Instagram or on Facebook or at LinkedIn, wherever you sell your stuff and wherever you show up online. Go and sell it with conviction and with true kind of confidence, knowing how powerful the thing is that you do, and go and sell it. You can go and sell your 20 grand package. You can go and sell your 10 grand. Like, it doesn't have to be 2 grand or 3 grand or 4 grand, because I know on social sometimes it seems like that's the only price it can be, but I'm telling you now, that's not the case. So have a lovely day or evening, and tune back in soon, and there'll be another episode next week for you, and I will speak to you very soon. Take care. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Honest Business Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you are subscribed, and if you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. To catch up with all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at may.james_, where I share the raw, uncut, behind the scenes reality of what running multiple businesses every day truly looks like. As always, links and any resources that were mentioned in the episode will be in the show notes below. That's all for this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time.